All right, everyone, we should be live. We'll make sure that's actually the case. If you do hear some fussy baby in the background, that's par for the course. It is a heat wave right now. I don't know how many degrees it is. It's not nearly as unbearable as Texas or Florida. People here are pretending there's some sort of weather alert at the moment. I find that infinitely amusing. So we'll make sure that we're actually live on Rumble. Let's see. Okay, the Rumble rants are working. Let me make sure we're actually physically live. Make sure the live stream is actually broadcasting. Yes. Let's see. Yeah, we got plenty of news to cover today. I think 9 stories today. That's pretty much normal, it seems, at this point. There's so much to cover, and I have so many opinions to give, and so many one-liners to deliver. And so I figured I'll keep live streaming every single day, at least for this month. Next month, I might try doing every other day, but I'll probably get bored in between. And keep in mind, I'm also doing the one-off videos and the editing at the same time. So I'm a fucking power horse. I'm unstable. I'm not a show horse. Anyway. Got a bunch of people already watching. Just a second. Let me organize things here. Make sure everything's cogent. And we're getting Rumble updates as we are literally live on Rumble. Of course. Yes. And to those of you watching on Twitch, I see Jaungali and Jemmy Jew already. 5,000 people are now subscribed on Twitch, which is great. Pile aboard. Share out that fucking link to all of those of you watching on Twitch. And we'll make this midterm broadcast in some months. It's going to be it's going to be epic. The Young Turks, eat your heart out. We're going to see how we compete with the other major streamers, because apparently I've become one now. Inadvertently. I was getting about 2,500 people at peak just a month ago on streams. Now sometimes it's almost 6,000. So it's insane. I didn't expect it to be that popular, to tell the truth. I'm considering investing in a much better setup. Something that's a bit more chic, a bit more sophisticated. Also hitting 95,000 subscribers on Rumble fairly soon. That's going to be great. Yeah, Kermit the Fudd. The Young Turks loser units when? We shall see. I think last midterm stream, we were actually ahead. We had 26,000 at peak on the last midterm live stream, and I didn't have a co-host. Sleazy P. Martini will be co-hosting, which is going to be the most epic mashup ever. And I didn't have I didn't have StreamYard at the time, so I couldn't have things off to the side like Politico, New York Times, whatever, showing the map of races for me to refer to. I'm going to have multiple links open as of the midterm live stream, and I'll be going back and forth between them, live updates. It's going to be great. Eric writes, speaking of heat wave, have you seen maps side by side from 10 years ago versus today? Normal, no color versus OMG, all red, etc. Pretty wild. Elon wants trial held next year. How much mayo in tuna salad? Yes, I've seen the meme maps of climate change, so-called, in which they simply change the color for the same exact temperatures. I've seen that. As far as mayo and tuna salad, I've never actually made tuna salad before. But I do make a really, really good tuna melt. The key is to have sweet pickle juice in the tuna melt. But you have to impregnate it into the tuna, and you have to toast it properly. Otherwise, it'll soak into the bread and make it soggy. Then you have to scarf it down. Otherwise, you feel shame and pain. Civic Nationalism, 1776. Will that AWB pass the Senate and Congress next week? Or will it die in the Senate? It will die in the Senate, I predict. That near-mass shooting that was stopped by a good guy in Indiana was suspicious, trying to push the momentum forward. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them to get some MK Ultra agent to shoot up a school or something. You can probably hear the chuffing in the background. It's impossible to stop. When it is hot, there's a correlation between the weather getting warmer and babies generally getting fussier. Must suck to be in a tropical climate, Jesus Christ. And the Dutch never invented air conditioning. So tomorrow is going to be 10 degrees warmer. I'm actually going to go out to the Gamma, if you're pronouncing it in English parlance, later to get a garden hose, because I want to spray everything down out back. Otherwise, it'll probably all wither. Anyway, we're going to be going right into the news. First bit of news for the day. Nuke warning. Iran now capable of building a nuclear bomb, brags country's supreme leader in fresh threat to West. Iran's supreme leader has boasted how the country can now produce a nuclear bomb in a chilling warning. The threat comes just a day after Joe Biden finished a 4-day trip to Israel and Saudi Arabia, where he vowed to stop Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. To be clear, I do not believe that Iran is actually going to obtain the bomb, but the timing is absolutely perfect to cast aspersion on the Biden administration. I don't know why the Iranians would want to troll him, though. He wants to hand them free money like Obama did. It was Trump that actually contained people in other countries and had a sane foreign policy, sane diplomacy. I don't know why exactly they would do this. Biden's their best friend. They can get billions of dollars in U.S. taxpayer money for free, for absolutely nothing, and continue their energy development. Kamal Karzi, senior advisor to Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has now bragged to Qatar's Al Jazeera how the Middle East country is technically capable of making a nuclear bomb. He added, however, that authorities had not decided whether to build one. Strategic ambiguity. Interesting. That's an Israeli strategy. Oh, maybe we have nukes. Maybe we don't have nukes, but we have the Samson option, so if we do have them and you attack us, you're going to all die. It's interesting that Iran is going down that gamut. Mojo Hansen, Trump has a messaging problem. He rambles too much. Well, so do most politicians. I do agree that he could work on his public speaking skills some. He's not in a boardroom when he's doing his thing. Eric writes, heading back from my last break. Got to make these microchips, son. Try making some tuna salad. Avoid celery if you can. No, celery goes in tuna. Let us know. Take care, Clankton. I will make a tuna farfalla at some point, and it will contain celery. Sebastian Monroe, I know you prefer Townsend's, but please give Tasting History with Max Miller a chance. His recent video is about your favorite condiment, ketchup. Yes, originally a fish sauce, actually, not tomato-based. Ketjap is what it's called here in the Netherlands. It's still used profusely, fish sauce. It's pretty good, actually. It goes well with chicken. Some MK Ultra agent, how did you get classified info about us? The Kangaroo Boxer on Twitch. Celery owns. I agree. Celery does go with tuna. Goes with pretty much everything. It doesn't have a whole lot of flavor to it. It's just crispy, and it has that sort of vaguely salty, herby celery snap to it, especially the green part of it. I like celery. It's really good if you take a celery stick and you just put a peanut butter on it. You get your protein, you get your fiber, you've got everything that you need. Neopop, why do people think the AWB will pass the Senate? As a gun owner, I must admit gun owners are the most paranoid, schizophrenic groups of people. No, they're not. I would disagree. You're cherry picking your sample there, boy. There are some gun owners that are deeply paranoid. Considering the fact that half of DC constantly wants to abuse them, I don't really blame them for being so. Sebastian Monroe, implying ketchup doesn't belong on everything. There are some exceptions. It doesn't belong on ice cream. You don't want to put it on spaghetti, although you can put it on really good mac and cheese. I will always put it on mac and cheese. One of my favorite things when I was a kid, just for aesthetic effect, I'd watch Evil Dead or some gory horror movie, and I would make a really wet cheese, macaroni and cheese, and I put ketchup all over it. It's kind of like blood and guts when you think about it. Best during a thunderstorm, by the way. Many such cases when I was in high school. David Ford sent $1.99 and no comment, but thank you anyway. So yeah, the first news of the day, Iran has effectively trolled Joe Biden. He went over to the Middle East for multiple days. He told people, I'm going to make sure that Iran don't get the bomb, as though he's capable of really doing anything about it. Now the Iranians are saying that they can get 90% enriched uranium already with their current technology, which is within the realm of possibility that they can do that. I don't think that they would be making this kind of statement unless they were emboldened. Looking at what Russia's doing in Ukraine right now and the Western response, that's probably why. North Paul, what's wrong with ketchup on spaghetti? Well, if you're really, really poor, you know what I mean, you can stand in for tomato sauce, I suppose. I like to make my own sauce for pizza, for pasta, and for literally anything else that is Italian food. And I make it the right way. Just need some carrot juice as sweetener instead of using brown sugar or whatever. Hey Sticks, I just noticed that your channel name is back in the YouTube pre-fill search results, says Preamble. I haven't checked that in a while. I don't even bother anymore. I just assume that YouTube's going to screw me. Unlike Rumble, they don't screw me. They promote my content. Almost 200 people watching on Rumble now. Look at the differential between the number of people subscribed and the number of people viewing the stream. There you go. It's plain as day. That's what I'm talking about. Judson on Rumble. Waya! Slow down, Daddy Sticks. Lol, I'm still brewing the coffee. Lol, cheers, Judson and Buddy. Enjoy the coffee. Pilgrim Media. Sticks, we're having a heat wave, a tropical heat wave. Yeah, this doesn't feel tropical to me. I mean, it's on the hot side, but it's certainly not unbearable. Tomorrow, when it's 10 degrees warmer, Fahrenheit, for all of you Europeans out there, it will be oppressive. And it tends to be a more humid heat here than you'd get in like Texas, but it's not on the same order as Tampa Bay. I lived there for a summer. Thunderstorms literally every day. Trash Panda, my wife and I want to leave New Mexico. How is living in Vermont? I'd like to turn it into a libertarian stronghold. Go to New Hampshire instead. Don't bother with Vermont. Unless the Free State Project, if they take over New Hampshire, they might branch out. And I personally would advise them to do so post-haste because Vermont has, less than half the population of New Hampshire and a lot of resources. But right now, Vermont is still under the control of socialism. Wait till Bernie Sanders croaks. Maybe there'll be change. John Migda. I like to make my own sauce, Sticks, 2022. Yeah, and I do it with fresh tomatoes. Can't wait to do it with garden fresh tomatoes in the future. And garden fresh onion and shit like that. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, that was our first news story. Second story, Jill Biden on President Joe Biden's hindered progress. He had so many hopes. Breakfast taco woman herself is weighing in on her husband's many failures. First Lady Jill Biden on Saturday voiced frustration about the stalled progress of President Joe Biden's tenure in the White House during a private Democratic National Committee fundraiser. The First Lady said during the event in Nantucket, there's plenty of limericks about that, Massachusetts, that her husband has been consistently challenged by unanticipated crises while in office. He didn't see any of the economic problems coming. He totally didn't cause them to happen. Placing blame on global woes. Yeah, it's Putin's fault. Putin's the one responsible for Nord Stream being accepted and Keystone not being accepted. Biden's remarks came as the president's job approval rating stands at 33%, according to a recent New York Times Siena College poll, which also noted just 13% of Americans say the country is headed in the right direction. To be clear, this is now a record low, at least since the early 2010s, so a 10-year low. His approval is now down near Truman levels. It has supplanted Trump and Carter as far as this term, and nobody likes him. The president had so many hopes and plans for things he wanted to do, but every time he turned around, he had to address the problems of the moment, said Jill Biden, speaking to about 24 attendees at a private home on the popular vacation island off the coast of Massachusetts. How much the fuck did they pay for each plate? Biden also announced she expects to meet next week with Olena Zelenska, the First Lady of Ukraine, with whom she last met in May during an unannounced trip into Ukraine. She did not elaborate on the agenda for her upcoming meeting. Hey, how much of this can you fucking re-embezzle into Western Europe and put it in our bank account? CNN has reached out to Biden's office for more details. Yeah. And she's talking about Roe v. Wade and guns and all of these other things. It's a sob story. This is an attempt to personalize a person who's not very personable. Joe Biden is not good at getting his message across, partially because he's demented, partially because he was, at least before dementia, he was a firebrand. He was very combative when he was a senator most of the time. So he's not very good at getting his point across. Jill Biden is now getting close to equally bad at getting her point across. If her remarks on Hispanics being breakfast tacos are any indicator. So it's interesting. Generally speaking, when the White House trots out the First Lady in order, I mean, this is a closed meeting. This is a private function, but yet we're still getting a story about it. Wouldn't you imagine, therefore, that this was meant to be released to the public, as in it wasn't really a private function at all? Usually when that happens, it's sort of an admission of failure. It's a Hail Mary. It's the same as Liz Cheney begging Democrats to vote for her, Beto O'Rourke begging Never Trump Republicans to vote for him. It's a Hail Mary. It's a mark of desperation. Lance Corporal Veteran, World in a Heat Wave, me and Winter Nights in Frisco. Yeah, if you don't like the heat, just go to Norway or something like that. You know, go to Scotland, go to Iceland. Iceland, they've got a heat wave. It's 71 degrees. Oh, Jesus. Everyone will die. The sharks will go away. How can we make our Carl? Our urine sharks. By the way, I do intend to visit Iceland not that long in the future, and I do intend to eat rotting shark. I'll try to get it on camera. I might puke everywhere, but we'll see. I have a cast iron stomach, but apparently the smell of it is the real problem. It's rich with ammonia because it's literally soaked in piss, effectively. We'll see what happens. Socially retarded. Hey, bud, what's up with you and Salty Cracker doing a live stream for the midterms? My co-host is Sleazy P. Martini, but if Salty wants to get on during the midterms as a guest, he's more than welcome. Same with V. Same with Razor Fist, all of the new tech leaders, people from Rumble, BitChute, Minds, Odyssey, etc. We can get them all aboard. And we'll be going for 4 hours probably, so no problem. We'll have plenty of time for guests. We will intermittently also be riffing on the Democrats, who are sure to lose the House of Representatives. It will be funny. There will probably be a raid of the Young Turks stream or any other salty stream. One thing that I'm going to need all of you to do come the midterm stream, and it will be in November. I'm going to need you to keep a lookout for leftoid streams, especially the corporate liberal side of them. And why is this? I want to do some live stream rating. I thought it was hilarious when people, and I didn't even organize it or anything, people were just clanking on them anyway. 2018 midterms, the Young Turks got clanked into oblivion. I'm blocked on their channel. I can't even comment. I'm ghosted on the Young Turks channel for a reason. They put 2 and 2 together. But many of you can post there. And so we'll probably have some fun. Of course, you should pay attention to the Styx, Hexenhammer, and Sleazy stream if you want the actual skinny on what's going on. But once we understand what's going on, we might have a good hour and a half to burn because it'll probably be evident fairly early. And then it'll be fun for everyone. It's going to be excellent. And we'll be live streaming on 3 different platforms, of course. Ken Kurihara, Styx, who do you think is in charge of the N football? It's not Alfred E. Buttigieg or thoroughly modern Millie. Do you think Rand will seek higher office? I don't know what you're referring to. You mean the military? The military, technically speaking, is run by Biden, but he's a puppet. So whoever's controlling his strings, I suppose, is in charge there. I think that Rand Paul should do everything in his power to try to convince Trump to take him on as running mate. If he becomes VP, he becomes unstoppable. If he doesn't get that executive experience, he's still on the top tier for a future election. But it's harder because really people that are only legislative in function have a disadvantage typically against people who have a function that's more executive in nature. Governors, vice presidents, even mayors. Hopium Gardener. Richard Spencer was caught liking a status advocating for child drag nonsense. How people who consider to be far right don't drop this guy is insane. I'm going to need an archive of whatever happened there before I believe it. No offense meant. I'll trust you as a clanker. You've commented before, but if I'm actually going to talk about it, I'm going to need some archives. Pilgrim Media. Styx, have you tried lutefisk from Scandinavia? No, I have not yet tried lutefisk. I will, though. We're thinking about a trip to England as well. When I'm there, I'm going to do a pub crawl and everything else. Go to England, tea, full English, real full English breakfast. That sounds good to me, although it'll take 2 or 3 people to finish it all. I don't know. No wonder the English have a lower lifespan. Jesus Christ. A pile of sausage and bacon and beans and shit for breakfast. I wouldn't mind some tea. Hopium Gardener, can I DM you, Sticks? Yeah, of course. Yeah, my DMs are open on Twitter. Of course you can. Jamiju on Twitch. If you come to England, let us know. Come to Canterbury. Now, mainly Warwickshire is on the list because of Warwick Castle, among other things. I don't want any cities. I only want small town England. I want to wander around in the hedgerows and the farms and shit, pretend I'm in the Shire. Lurch685, how difficult is it to get a work visa in the Netherlands? I have absolutely no idea. Of course, I married someone who's Dutch, so I'm in a special class of people when it comes to residency. I don't know about work visas. Havercamp Harassment Chronicles, your reaction to Lauren Southern's truth video? I have no reaction because I don't delve into the e-drama thing. I have no idea what is true or not with regards to any interpersonal interactions that creators have. I do have central knowledge that there is some shenanigans going on within some creator communities, but I'm not going to weigh in on that publicly because it doesn't matter. I analyze the news. My job is I talk about the news to thousands of people every single day and make my standalone videos where I just give my opinion on random shit that's going on. That's why I love my job. I don't need e-drama. I am my own boss. Kyle Yakel, hey Sticks, do you think the assault weapons ban that's going to be presented to Congress this week will pass and become law? No, and leastwise, if it did, it doesn't get grandfathered in and doesn't even impact assault weapons, so-called. All that's happening right now is that people are buying millions of them ahead of the potential ban anyway, so it doesn't mean anything. Ken Kurihara, Sticks, the end football is the codes to those flying objects with those big warheads. Oh, nuclear football. Yeah, I don't know. What was the prior question with regards to nuclear football? Just a sec here. Who do you think is in charge? Oh, who do you think is in charge of it? Probably George Soros, honestly. Spider Eternal, go hang out with Sargon and PJW for pub crawling. Yeah, I would like to try haggis. I don't know, some people think it sounds gross. I think it sounds delicious. I'm going to eat that shit. Matt Seringo 24, I took your hot dog sandwich idea from last week and turned it into a full-blown Jew burger, Jewish seeded rye toasted, length-cut Hebrew national dogs, mustard and sauerkraut. It was fantastic. Clank. I've eaten it just that way, except with ketchup on it. It is good. By the way, dude, people should try that. Professor Enoch 095. Sri Lanka isn't real socialism, is peak copium. Lol. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. Green Top LLC. Have you heard of Peter Zion? Seems to be really spot on in regards to the death of globalism and economics. Get his new book. It's extremely insightful. Have to look that up. Bootbox and 8. Thoughts on the UK Tory race? I miss Bojo for the meme. I don't care who leads the Tory party there because they're fucked anyway. Anyway, we've got another. Okay, so we covered Jill Biden. It's just a sob story. My husband is being obstructed. He had so many goals. He had so many dreams, and you crushed them. That's basically what it is. Yeah, the dude who fucked me when I was his babysitter, because that's literally the Jill and Joe Biden story. The pervert that was fingering me when I was babysitting for him. He had so many dreams and gave me so much money, but you've denied us even more. So I really feel sad for you. Next story. Apparently, we reported yesterday on Reddit banning the term groomer because they thought it was anti-trans or homophobic or something. We'll get into that a little bit more. We'll do a second cover of this. People immediately decided that Predator, that is like Redditor, but with the P on it, that's the new term for groomer on Plebbit. So they've completely lost the plot. And I find this good. This is kind of like the linguistic psyop and warfare thing that I've talked about before. You've created a new term. It's a single word. It has an irreducible meaning. You can't get much simpler. Redditor plus the P means predator. You're just spelling it differently. and you're using it as a substitute for something that is now verboten. It's a language creole. Are they going to ban this term as well? They probably will try. It won't work so well now, I think. And yes, Predator is older than that, says Ogurk. Yes, I do believe that it has been in use before, but now it has a new and more relevant meaning in the context of the fact that groomer is banned on the platform because they're trying to defend groomers. And that's exactly what's happening. Nobody is saying that LGBTQ or whatever, not going to include the T, I suppose, that is pedophilia. That's not what's being said. The larger socio-political struggle is over whether explicit materials of any kind should be shown to elementary school kids. Of course, I think most of us agree that it shouldn't. And number two, should little kids, again, elementary age, single-digit age, be taken to drag shows or anything else overtly sexualized? The initial cope for this was to point out the videos of little boys at Hooters. And I pointed out, and many others did, who the fuck would do that either? They shouldn't be dancing with the Hooters waitress. It's overtly sexualized, maybe to a somewhat less degree. I mean, they are fully clothed and stuff. They're not prancing around, literally getting, you don't stuff the tips into the Hooter waitress's bra or anything like that. But it is sexualized. It's sex light. It's strip club light. If you go to Hooters, that's the whole point. You're not going there for food, I would assume. Now let's go eat overpriced McDonald's from women with big tits. It doesn't sound fun to me. It sounds like hell, honestly. It's like Las Vegas, the restaurant. Kids shouldn't go there either. Certainly not until they're considerably older. Yeah, high schooler, okay, and then whatever. Bring them to Hooters. They'll have a good time. Little kid, like 5, 6 years old, what the fuck should they be dancing in Hooters? It's the same thing. And the other part is the explicit material in schools. So right now, you have explicit sexual material, taxpayer funded, being forced onto children in elementary schools. They're required to read it. They're literally tested on it. I find this unacceptable. What the hell does that have to do with lesbians or gay people or something like that? And Reddit has been panned by a lot of gay advocacy groups because the insinuation is that there is a connection, that wanting minors to be sexualized somehow overlaps with, people at gay pride or something like that. They're getting hammered right now for this. Why does anyone use Reddit anyway? It's the intellectually bereft, retarded version of 4chan with more bells and whistles and more rules. How is it possibly fun? It's people who are addicted to trying to seek clout. They seek what is called karma on the site. Why? I have no goddamn clue. I don't know. I used it briefly for 10 minutes once many years ago and thought it was revolting, so I just went back to 4chan. Commander Ham, my brother showed our boomer dad one of your videos. He called you a schizo. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not well loved by boomers. The average person in my audience is roughly the same age as me, between 25 and 45. So, my apologies. Okay, boomer. Mojo Hansen, Kyle Kalinske, and Crystal Ball are a couple. Lol, gross. Oh God, they've hooked up. Jesus. I mean, she probably has a bigger dick than him, so I guess maybe he likes pegging or something. Way too cool on Twitch. Do you guys use your wrist to spoon clank, or is it more of a forearm motion? I use my wrist to clank myself. That is the proper clanking methodology, but we have tolerance for those who literally want to break their cup. Paracelsus Underrock. What is wrong in the world is that Western nations have been bamboozled into believing that the world is practicing capitalism. Yet when in reality, the world has been practicing socialism and corporatism for the last century. Yeah, really, there isn't a whole lot of free market capitalism in the world. I mean, remnants and vestiges of it do exist in most countries outside of the explicitly socialist sphere. And that's what's keeping them afloat. What we need is more capitalism. We need a restoration of the way things were before the Civil War in the United States as far as business goes. Pilgrim Media Sticks, we have to the first Hooters in Clearwater. Yeah, I've never been interested in that shit. Ben Dover, I'm a boomer and love your content. Yeah, I realize that there are boomers that watch my videos, but mostly it's core millennial or younger Gen X, somewhere around that period. Oldest Gen Z through youngest Gen X is my core audience age-wise. I have no problem with boomers. My dad's a boomer. Yeah, he never grifted anyone and bought a yacht or anything like that. That being said, there are abusive and manipulative boomers out there that run much of the political complex of the Western world, and it's become a huge problem for people that are half their age. I was born in 1988. I'm a core millennial. I am from the Game Boy is cool generation. I'm from the laptops are cool and I don't really want to use a smartphone generation. My parents use a smartphone more ably than I do. I'm stubborn. I'm set in my ways. Next news story. Judge blocks Biden admin's transgender school bathroom rule. Athletes. Judge Charles Ashley Jr. was appointed by former President Donald Trump. That is, by the way, this is considered very relevant to the story. And keep in mind, this is from Fox. A federal judge has blocked a directive from President Joe Biden's administration that allowed transgendered workers and students to use school restrooms matching their gender identities. It also allowed transgender athletes to join sports teams corresponding with their chosen genders. The directive was blocked by Judge Charles Ashley Jr. of the Eastern District of Tennessee, a Trump appointee. Very relevant. After a coalition of 20 Republican attorney generals sued last year, Reuters reported. I support this, and I'll qualify that. And I'm going to say the same thing that I said fucking 5 or 6 years ago. I do not care if a person is transgendered. I don't care who they screw. I don't care how they screw them. I don't care how they dress. I don't care if they undress. It does not matter to me. Personal life, nothing to do with me. They're not victimizing anyone. Who gives a damn? Extremely libertarian on this issue. Here's where I have a problem. And the problem begins when you extend that to the civic sphere, if you have gender segregated bathrooms at all. The problem is that you're not just going to get somebody who is genuinely, literally, they're on hormones, they've had bottom surgery, maybe, whatever. They are genuinely transgendered. Even if you chalk it up to dysphoria and you think it's terrible and mental illness or something, they genuinely believe that. They're not trying to perv on anyone. They're not trying to abuse anyone. I don't give a shit which bathroom they use. The problem when you try to apply it to this kind of situation is that then you also get the person who is not genuinely feeling that, and they're simply trying to be perverted and abusive. And even if that only happens in a small minority of cases, and jury's out on really the ratio there, it will happen. You had that case, what was it? I think earlier this year, I think it was in California, where some dude walked in and started perving on little girls in the woman's changing room or spa or something in California, I believe it was. Clearly male, no attempt to live a transsexual or transgendered life or anything like that. Not on hormones, no surgery. Just strips down and has his cock hanging out in front of a bunch of 10-year-old girls. This is the problem, and it needs to be addressed. And I warned of this problem years and years ago. Before this current era of wokeness began, I should dig up the fucking video that I made years ago. I don't even know if Trump was in office at the time. I think it might have been the tail end, ass end of the Obama administration at the time. I warned that sort of thing would happen. Yes, Eric, we spa. Yes, indeed. And it's happened over and over. And that's really the problem. The problem is taxpayers should not be funding a situation where you have this kind of thing going on in a school with regards to changing rooms, with regards to bathrooms, etc. You're going to get horny and impetuous teenage boys saying, hey, I'm transgendered. I'm going in the girls' locker room and you can't stop me. And it's going to be a goddamn big problem. If I were LGBTQ plus AIOU 123 or something, I'd be goddamn livid at these things because it's going to make my life a living hell when the inevitable happens. Oh, 15-year-old boy was beating off in the girls' locker room? Well, who could have seen that coming? Hey, this dude raped several students? Who could have seen it coming? This chick decided to use the boys' locker room and then, she gets $50 a pop or something? No, I never thought that would happen. It's not really about the people that genuinely feel, hey, I was born male, I'm really a female, and I can't deal with this shit. I mean, I feel uncomfortable around all these dicks or something. I want to be among my fellow girlfriends. Nobody cares. You're not perving on anyone. You're not doing anything wrong. You may or may not agree with the lifestyle, as some people say, but you're not doing anything wrong. The problem is that a lot of people will do something wrong, and it's preventable. There's no reason. Why don't you just, if you're going to do this, if you're going to have this problem, just have a singular locker room style system for changing and for showering. That is, it locks. Student goes in there. They're the only one there. They're not around anyone else. There's a dressing area and stuff. So you'll have to shell out to do this, but you can do that. Or make everything non-gendered. Boys and girls, they go to the same locker room. And then you have the problem of maybe there's a staff member there. They're perverted too. They have to watch them to make sure the kids don't get off on each other or something. And then they get off because they're the pervert. It can be a big problem. And it's not a problem that we need to have socially. There are solutions to it that could be adopted today, but people are too stupid to do so. Pilgrim Media, Sticks, I'm a boomer and or dinosaur. Hail metal. Yeah, the boomers did have better music, I will admit. And Gen X, and basically everyone but millennials. Hell, the Gen Z music's better than what millennials had to fucking suffer through for 10 years. Ken Kurihara, Sticks, Zimmerman did a show on the cuisine of the Dutch people, and I was really impressed. You got some good grinds there. Is licorice a delicacy? Yes, a lot of people here love licorice. And yes, he ate the fermented sardines or shark meat. He liked it after he stopped gagging. Yeah, apparently with Hakarl, the thing is the smell, not the taste. The taste is considered mild and nutty. It's actually pleasant. But you have to get over the smell first. That's the problem. That is what I've heard. I did order it once, but by the time it got to the US, it was moldy, so I couldn't eat it, unfortunately. I'll have to go to Iceland itself for this cuisine. He'd probably get it imported to the Netherlands in a couple of days. It'd probably last that trip, I guess, if it was in an ice box or something. I want to see Iceland anyway. I want to see the black sand beaches where it's too cold to swim, probably. I want to see the hot springs where they cook food, see a volcano. Maybe I'll jump into the volcano. We'll test whether Schrodinger's cat is really a thing. I spend the rest of eternity sitting there boiling in the volcano, alternately being dead and alive at the same time, suffering eternally in hell. We'll see what happens. Crystal Mayo on Twitch, LMAO, it got moldy. Now, it is fermented beforehand, but it is not moldy. There's a big difference between green or white mold growing on the shark meat and the shark meat simply having been fermented. They're not the same thing. I don't even think that the raw shark meat initially, before it's put in the ground under gravel, I'm not even sure it would be capable of rotting because there's so much ammonia in it. Ammonia is basically like cleaner. It's you would clean with it. There's enough in there, so it's poisonous. You literally cannot eat it until it's processed, until it's fermented. Adonis Adams, hey Sticks, it's been a while. How did you learn how to cook? I knew how to cook a few things from my parents, and then Liz sort of helped me with some of my cooking. And I watched her cooking. I'm like, well, I can probably try this. And then I got addicted to it. And now I've got a folder full of recipes from the internet, mostly of foods from India and Vietnam and places like that. I find them interesting. Pilgrim Media, have you tried smelly durian fruit? No, unfortunately, I don't think that I can get durian in this country. I'll have to go to India or Malaysia or wherever the hell it's grown. Shark meat equals mercury, says Phil from Florida. Yeah, a little mercury never hurt anybody. We've got, by the way, 3,000 people watching here. Yes, Kevin Ali over on Rumble. Do they like the licorice that tastes like it has more salt than sugar in the Netherlands? They are both available. They are both very, very popular. Liz, I can't remember. I think she likes the salty version. I'm not a huge licorice fan, although I would like to grow it. It smells really nice. I just don't really like the flavor of it so much. They used to have all sorts of old-timey licorice and similar candies, mint and stuff, Whorehound, in Woodstock. Now, when I was a kid at the drugstore, which was also a toy store and a general store and a stationery store and a literal pharmacy, when I used to, they had a huge amount of old-timey candy available there. I don't know if they still do. I didn't go in there the last time I was in Woodstock. It was funny because I went into a store called Unicorn there, and when I was a kid, I'm just going to tell a story here. Fuck the news for a moment. I'm going to tell you a really funny Woodstock Tarl story. When I was a kid, I was hell on wheels. I mean, I still am, but even more so. I got in trouble one time. The fucking sheriff came over because I was shining a laser pointer in someone's window in the middle of the night across the street from the back of the apartment that we were in. And they thought it was a sniper rifle or something. It's like, now, come on. Clearly, you can see a little kid's aiming a laser pointer at you. You should have just shouted at me to fuck off or something. I would have found it funny. And I would throw snowballs at cars, and I totally never keyed large and expensive automobiles in the parking lot outside of the Woodstock Inn one time with a friend who was arguably as crazy as me. I never did $50,000+ of damage to a bunch of vehicles in a single day when I was a little kid. Sorry about that, guys. But you're rich. You can deal with it. I didn't key the shitty cars. Anyway, I was nuts. And in Woodstock, when I was there, I had a really, really great time overall trolling people. It was here, just a second here. I'm getting distracted from my story here. Oh, God damn it. Yeah, anyway, I don't even remember what I was talking about. I was a troll as a kid. I can't remember what my point was. I'm having a senior moment. I'm not as young as I was when I was trolling people as a little kid. Yeah, I did quite a bit of damage. It was interesting times. I used to throw coins, actually, into the area behind the apartment that we were living in. And it was fun. I mean, I used to throw them at raccoons that would gather out there to raid the garbage at night because the Mountain Creamery that now has moved was right below where we lived. The apartment's still there. I bet it looks a lot different now that it's been renovated. And when they opened up the fan, like the ventilation system behind the Mountain Creamery, they found something like $7 or $8 worth mainly of pennies in there that I had thrown over the years. And I found this to be hilarious. It didn't damage the fan or anything like that, but they just found them in the actual unit. And it was a great time. Yeah, no clue what I was talking about before. Let's see. Some grumpy goat. Sticks, you've radicalized me to make a garden. As a somewhat professional chef, you have no idea how useful it is to have fresh herbs ready for cooking in the pan. Oh, yes, I definitely do. I've got several herbs outside. Rosemary, basil is a huge one. I like to put that in pretty much everything. I can't wait to have a full-on herb garden. And I mean full-on as in pretty much every herb known to man. So I even want the uncommon ones like tarragon and things like that. Taco Bell. I had a question, but I'm tired, so I forgot it. Anyway, take my money. Thank you. Denying S. I'm late. Come in during the shark meat discussion. What did I miss? I was going to get to some sort of story about my childhood and trolling, but I kind of forgot where I was. Jesse JFR, longtime clanker artist from South Cal. Would you be interested in a collab on an art project, perhaps an enamel pin occult series? IG Jesse JFR for art. I don't use Instagram, but if you contact me on Twitter, we can talk. Child is chuffing again. The car owners of Woodstock, come back to the States. We'd love to see you again. Yes, those were fun times. My friend's name was Chris. I won't give out the last name. I don't even know if he's alive still. I tried looking him up cross-platform once to see if he wanted to hang out and bust some balls again, but I couldn't find anything about him. Salty Christian on Rumble. Whenever you can move back to the States, if you happen to buy a G3, Heckler Koch 91, PTR 91, SETME style type battle rifle instead of a casted receiver M14, I will reward you by shipping you a 50-carton box of surplus magazines. Interesting. That's impressive. Why don't I get both, though? Odeon, you'd need a massive culture change to make a no-gender bathroom situation in the U.S., especially for how much modesty, to the point of uptightness, in my opinion, is ingrained in everything. Yes, it would be difficult. It's different from in Europe. There are bi-gender bathrooms here in Europe. They're more common. The only one I had ever seen in the United States was in one of the buildings at UVM. And it was really funny because, of course, I had to pee before class and, some chick sits down. And at first I was confused. I was like, oh, shit, I wandered into the wrong bathroom. And then I realized, of course, anyone could use it. In that case, it was an old building, like from the early 1800s. So I guess they just didn't have room for 2 bathrooms. So they improvised. 3QH, Sly Fox Productions, and Swamp Fox Studios. Good morning, Sticks Clank. I started a stream here, Red Pill Fight Club, on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Also, new music is out here, too, on 3QH channel. They're paying for a shout-out there. Colin Madden, I grew up in Laconia, New Hampshire, and Waterford, Maine. Chucking snowballs at cars is mandatory. Yeah, I did crazy shit. Surprised I never got arrested when I was a kid. Girls don't poop on Twitch. Sticks, can you say hi to my mom? She loves you. Hello, Girls Don't Poop's mom. Jenny M. How is the patio garden doing? Drought here in Mass, but tomatoes are rocking. Headed out now to harvest potatoes. Hope all is well with baby girl and Liz. Yes, baby is very fussy today, but all is well. It's doing actually really well. It's very, very green. I'm going to be buying a hose later because I'm tired of using the watering can. And over today and the next day, it's going to be extremely hot and sunny. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll go to the next story. Kristi Noem running digital ads in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. New Northeast trip planned. Your weekly look at the latest developments, polls, and speculation in the next race for the White House by Paul Steinhauser of Fox News. A new ad from Governor Kristi Noem is fueling presidential rumors. Yes, indeed, Kristi Noem has joined the club of people who are potentially kind of sort of pre-looking at maybe kind of running in 2024. You could do worse. I would prefer her as a VP candidate for Donald Trump, potentially, or Rand Paul, or even DeSantis. Actually, I'd prefer her at the top of the bill with DeSantis as VP. I think I'd like Kristi Noem better. She's done a reasonably good job. Here, freedom runs free, so saddle up. We're just getting started, Noem says in the spot. Yeah, it's a typical rural sort of vaguely hillbilly-ish stuff. Vibes with me because I'm a literal hillbilly from the fucking small town of Woodstock. I would consider voting for Kristi Noem. I want Trump to run. And if she tries to primary him, of course, I'll pound the crap out of her campaign like I would anyone else's that was against his. But if she were to run, in the absence of Trump, I would prefer over DeSantis, although not over Rand Paul. And she would be viable, I think, in the wake of the COVID decision-making. Certainly that would help. She's certainly not an anti-gunner, which is helpful. Yeah, you could definitely do worse. I would say one thing is that she's from a solid red state of South Dakota. That doesn't help. It's better to be from a swing state. Trump now technically has a Florida advantage, so would DeSantis. Kentucky with Rand Paul, it's more red, but certainly less red than South Dakota. This is another reason why Gavin Newsom, who is also circling like a vulture waiting to run, we'll talk about that in a bit, would be well warned that he has a disadvantage. And I keep seeing people talking about Tulsi Gabbard. Fuck Tulsi Gabbard. No, I wouldn't vote for her. Entirely beholden to corporate interests. She's just an interesting character who happens to surf and be a veteran. She's an anti-gunner. No thanks. Rene Ruiz, new sub. Can you give me an opinion as to why alt media are not talking about Dominion machines and what, if anything else, will be different? I can't talk too frankly about that on a stream that is on YouTube, but they're not talking about it because Hong Kong, there's totally no news to talk about. Sort of like Hunter Biden's laptop. NPR didn't need to investigate it, they said, because there's nothing there. When asked how they knew this, they said, well, it's just not there, so we're not going to bother investigating its presence. Mojo Hansen, I found your political analysis to be the most legit, honest, well-balanced online. You have been my go-to since 2015. Most others are losers. There are plenty of other content creators that are worth listening to. I just happen to be biased in my belief that I'm the best one. Pilgrim Media, your thoughts on the Disney autonomous zone in Florida? I think that it should end. Also, we should shove copyright down their throat. Rob them of not just Mickey Mouse, but everything else. So yeah, Kristi Noem may be thinking of running. Again, you could do worse. But if Trump were to run, I think I would submit a 99% chance that it would be Trump. You'd have to really pull someone out of your ass that was spectacular to go against him. Kristi Noem may be good, but not on that level. I would prefer her over DeSantis as a VP, potentially, partially because she's not from Florida. In fact, this may be what this is about. Gain some clout in these states, canvass them, and then become running mate. If anything, there's a better than 50-50 chance that this doesn't point to her trying to run for the presidency. she's probably well aware of the fact that Trump, who endorsed her, I believe, intends to run. Why would you canvass all of the early states then? To prevent the possibility of any primary challenger gobbling them up under Trump so that he can become the nominee. And hey, he's on the older side. This means I could be president, by the way. Just look at what happened to Biden over the last couple of years. So I think Kristi Noem is probably angling for a VP slot. Moxie Man, how do you think the Democrat Party as an organization will handle people running against Biden? Think Sanders v. Clinton 2016. We have to wait and see, because it's entirely possible if he does choose to run again, even though he has low support, he could still pull it off even with a minority of the vote if the Sharks circle. That would be a disaster. It's the last thing the Dems want. They clearly want him out of the way. I will talk about the reason why additionally tomorrow. But yeah. Lev Polyakov, see you on BreakTheRules.tv tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern. Yes, by the way, announcement, I will be debating Lower Blue Eyes, the Twitter troll, the socialist, tomorrow at that time. Also, how much on this January 6th stuff is allowed to be discussed on YouTube? I think pretty much all of it, basically, unless it has to do with honking in the election. Next news story, Democrats should use the 14th Amendment insurrection clause to keep Trump off the ballot in 2024. Oh boy, are they afraid of Donald Trump running again. Yeah, they're going to declare him guilty of insurrection without a charge of insurrection. That's really going to stick legally. That won't get shot down by the courts. After the testimony of former White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson, is there any doubt that Donald Trump fomented the insurrection on January 6, 2021? There are no longer any innocent explanations for what he did that day. Select committee testimony, cherry-picked, highly limited, has demonstrated that he knew he had no good factual or legal basis for the claim that the election was honked, that he knew Vice President Mike Pence was not going to save him, and his only chance to remain in the White House was to stop the final ratification by Congress on January 6th. You see, there are multiple problems. First, there was no insurrection. It simply didn't happen. It was a riot. The majority of the people there were not trying to overturn any election results. In fact, Bannon and others have confirmed there was a separate rally that people were actually trying to go to. Then it devolved into a riot. So it wasn't pre-planned. Trump did not know that would happen. Trump did not whip anyone into a frenzy. He actually attempted to call people off, although, albeit belatedly. And it doesn't fit the definition of an insurrection. Certainly, Donald Trump's statements, nothing that he said publicly or privately that we know of so far, would lead you to believe that he was engaged in an attempted insurrection or sedition. Bannon's claim that Donald Trump said he was going to declare victory regardless early on is par for the course among politicians, especially for high-level office. This often happens. It's happened by the legacy media before. You remember Truman? Speaking of Joe Biden, someone equally palatable. Stephen 13, prequel trilogy is greater than sequel trilogy. Yes, with Star Wars. The Lucas prequels are better than anything Disney's done other than Rogue One. Rogue One gets a pass. There's some problems with it, but generally gets a pass. Story that needed to be told. Non-stop action for the most part, which is what I wanted. I don't give a shit about character development if you're going to kill all the characters off anyway. Next story, taxpayer-funded NPR launches disinformation reporting team ahead of elections. And I was just thinking about this, and others have pointed out profusely, so I'm not taking credit for being the first one. Wasn't NPR the tabloid rag, the one that literally steals taxpayer money to do so, that said that they didn't want to investigate Hunter Biden's laptop or report on it because there was nothing there, that they didn't intend to investigate it because there's nothing there? That's like if you say, there's no pine cone under this pile of leaves. There's no pine cone there. It doesn't exist. Someone says, well, why don't you, rifle around in it for a second, see if there's a pine cone? You say, well, there's no reason to because there's no pine cone to rifle around for. It's madness. It's not journalism. It's certainly there's no integrity there or anything. It's stupidity. It's bias, and it's corruption. And that's what NPR represents. If they want to have a disinformation reporting team, they should report on themselves first. Go ahead, do the apology thing. Take the knee and say, well, we fucked up. We really fucked up by not telling people that Joe Biden that he actually was involved in a quid pro quo before you voted in the fucking last election. We're so caught up on how evil Orange Man was because of his mean tweets that we didn't bother to look into it. And we were wrong. All you have to do is apologize, dude. John Snow, hey Sticks, how's being a father? It's pretty fun. You get less sleep, but, I'm used to getting little sleep anyway, so. Insomniacs of the world, unite. How many people are watching right now? If I can drag this up on the side anyway. Yeah, we got 3,500 people watching live. I can't even imagine how many people tune into the fucking midterms. Editor MG, keep up the good work, dude. Thank you. There will be live streams continuously. They will be at slightly different times many days, but they will happen every day at least through the end of this month, barring some major catastrophe. Oh shit, a Boeing 747 just wiped out the middle of Anchiday. Maybe I should probably report on that first. Mark F. Hi, Sticks. I make a good portion of the log memes. Can we collab on a book of Andy Six's greatest shits? The problem would be copyright, because a lot of those images are derivative of actual professional photography. But yeah, it'd be funny to create an online catalog of those images. It'd be very good for rating B. Just to be clear, I could probably call in one hell of a massive raid there as long as I was given the resources to do so. Maybe if something is put together and you DM me on Twitter, we can find a time to have a little bit of fun at others' expense. Maybe it can spread out on other boards. That would be funny too. You remember the yellow raids where all the images were yellow and they were trying to knock the pornography off of B because it's cluttered up the board at this point. I remember when, before I believe politically correct actually existed, a lot of the edgy political stuff was actually on the random board. I don't think there was a news board either, and nobody uses it anyway. Nobody gives a shit. I can remember those times, and they were fun. Then they parsed them apart, and all of a sudden, oh, my goodness, the random page, all it is 50% pornography. No shit, dude. You took all the interesting politics off of it. That was much more edgy when it was on that particular board anyway, because people were deliberately trolling. Professor Plaguebat, thoughts on the new handbook of hate memes? Is that in and of itself a meme? Or is it a self-satire? I don't even know anymore. Mojo Hansen, have you tried growing rhubarb? There's a lot of rhubarb back in Rutland. Like a huge amount of rhubarb. Like something like 30 plants total or something. Strawberry rhubarb, regular rhubarb. I like the strawberry rhubarb better. It's a little bit sweeter. Yes, the Glenconer, one of the biggest fireworks disasters in human history, actually happened not, I think, a mile from here many years ago. Unfortunately, there is no video of the actual explosion, only the aftermath. Of course, back then, people were using like fucking camcorders and shit. They didn't have smartphones. So yeah, then we've got another news story. This is from Clay Travis over on Twitter. This is a video. Gavin Newsom showing up to visit the White House the day after Joe Biden leaves for Israel is so next level diabolical, I can't help but respect it. I think, again, there's always the possibility that he doesn't intend to run. Much like Kristi Noem could very well be setting the groundwork to be a queen maker, so to speak, in the first few primary states, just in case, and Trump has actually asked her to do so. Canvass them because, you've been out of the spotlight. You have more neutral name than Trump. You canvass these states and help buff me up when you come aboard as VP, potentially. This could be Gavin Newsom's way of getting his foot in the door of being VP or something. Do you think that Biden, if he does run again, wants Kamala Harris there? Do you think that Kamala would necessarily even want the job? I'm not sure. Imagine having to deal with breakfast taco Jill Biden. I think things are afoot here. Then again, of course, even odds has it Gavin Newsom does want the job. He expects Biden not to run, and so he's angling for it. And he's saying, well, I best see what my new house will look like for the next 4 years. I wouldn't put it past him. He's a sleazebag. The problem for Newsom is his actions during the COVID lockdowns at the French Laundry, etc. Make sure that all that shit's archived and saved locally, by the way, because I have no doubt whatsoever the legacy media will be scrubbing articles if he becomes a candidate. Mark Peterson, hey Sticks, what are your thoughts on Lake Mead and the Hoover Dam water levels? Take care, my friend. Haven't researched it. I know the water levels over there can fluctuate badly. Pilgrim Media, your daughter can run for prime minister in 2040. I wouldn't wish political office upon my daughter. I don't want it myself either. Imagine if you fucking have a schedule. You have to go meet with other politicians and shit like that. You have to feign interest. You have like public events and shit. Here, read to these kids. Read Hop on Pop to this kindergarten class. It'll be a photo op. I don't want to read Hop on Pop. I don't want to sit there watching them puke on themselves. Joe Biden's dentures. Will the SCOTUS leaker ever face exposure or prison? No, they will never find out who the leaker was. Alexander Emelianov. Styx, is Maine a good place to move when it comes to taxes and gun liberty? By the way, do you like anime and or manga? I'm not huge into anime, although I liked the Slayers many years ago. I'm not sure about Maine's gun laws, but it is high tax. You'd be better off with New Hampshire. Yeah, baby's still chuffing up there. Sigilstone17. Have you ever considered doing something like Dankula's Mad Lads, but for occult topics? It'd be educational and informative. No, I have not, actually. Sparky. SSRIs decrease overall violent crime while occasionally giving some visions of killing faceless people, causing those without enough self-awareness to be mass killers. Big Pharma covers it up. Yes, they are problematic. And the last story of today, I was going to cover Fauci and his monkeypox comments, but then said fuck because who cares? Basically, monkeypox is a non-issue. As a 76-year-old, let me say, Joe Biden is too old to run again. This is from Robert Third Reich, and you'll remember him as the long-term lolcow liberal. By the way, please don't send any more super chats because I have a feeling I'm going to be distracted here at some point anyway. She's chuffing badly. I'll try to fly through this. When Robert Reich doesn't have your back, and you're a Democrat, and you're an incumbent, and you're eligible to run again, and you're not falling down dead, I suppose, don't you think it's time to hang up your hat? If you can't get Robert Reich to support you, you've got real fucking problems. I'm sure the president is experiencing some diminution in the memory department. I know I am, says Robert Reich. Hey, I'm a spring chicken of 76. Joe is almost 80 years old. He's got to have a bunch of fucking cognitive problems. This is very interesting because not only Robert Reich, but other people in the liberal media have been covering for him saying, no, we know that he's old, but he has absolutely no symptoms of anything. He jogs for miles. He bikes every day. He's totally with it. He's smarter than everyone around him. He is just the picture of goddamn health. He's healthier than he was when he was 30 or 40, and his hair was thinning at the time, even worse than it is now after his multiple hair plug surgeries. So why the sudden flip? And this is not the only example of this happening. We're seeing it from CNN. We're seeing it from MSNBC. We're seeing it from basically the entire legacy media because they all support Biden. I think what's happening is they fully intend to throw him under the bus. He was never meant to serve a second term. The only thing that they wanted out of that election was they looked at the field and they said, who can we put in there where it would be plausible, honk honk, that the Bloombergization, the fortification of the election happened. That's all they cared about. Now they're kicking him aside. I hope. Here's what I hope. I don't like Joe Biden. I don't like his policies. I don't like his personality. I fucking hate everything about him. I think he sucks. But I hope just one thing for him. I hope he's crazy enough to defy his puppet masters and run anyway and say, what are you going to do? Invite a primary process? Make it even less plausible that the next person gets honked into election? Yeah, good luck, fat. Do push-ups behind the shed. I hope he forces the issue. I hope that he does run again. He'd probably win in a crowded field. You get him versus 5 or 6 other non-Biden candidates. A lot of people congeal to him just because he's the incumbent. And then it would really put a wrench in their plans. It'd be funny if Trump paid him to do that. Hey, Joe, I don't like you. Please run again. Here's $1 billion. Anyway, when Robert Reich is throwing you under the bus, again, as a liberal, if you can't get his support, you can't get anyone's support. The writing is definitely on the wall for Biden. If he does manage to run again, he'll be so scathed, he'll be raked over the coals so badly beforehand, he'd stand no chance of winning. Unfortunately, of course, you still have that question on the table regardless of who replaces him. Kamala? You really want to run Kamala Harris? Democratic Party? Okay. Yeah. I speak with some authority. I'm now a sprightly 76, light years younger than our president. No, it's like 3 years, dude. Get it right. You're old. You're elderly. I feel fit. I swing dance and salsa and can do 20 push-ups in a row, yet I confess to a certain loss of, shall we say, fizz. You're using boomer speak there, Robert. No, I don't know what you're talking about. Joe Biden could easily make it till 86 when he'd conclude his second term. After all, it's now thought a bit disappointing if a person dies before 85. I don't know where you're getting your news from. The lifespan is actually shrinking now. partially because of poor diet and poor exercise, and partially because of boomers fucking the medical system. 70 is the lifespan set out in the Bible. Who gives a fucking shit? Modern technology and big pharma at least a decade and a half. After 80, it's gravy, my father used to say. Was he talking about his sperm at the time? Is that what he used to impregnate your mother? Joe will be on the cusp of the gravy train. Where will it end? There's only one possibility. I find myself reading the obituary pages with ever greater interest, noting older than me or younger than me. And he just basically goes on through this whole, it's a long-ass article, too. I don't know how many paragraphs. It's a fairly long article. And all he's doing is, well, I'm falling apart, and here's some thoughts on me being old, and Joe Biden's got to have it worse because he's older. It is entirely possible that Joe Biden's overall healthier than him and everything other than his cognitive ability. He does bike a lot. He seems to jog around quite a bit. He's not obese. He's in relatively good shape for someone pushing 80, other than the dementia part. That's the truth about it. But they're throwing him under the bus anyway because it's plausible deniability. They're going to lose in the midterms. They're going to blame Biden, and they're going to force him aside. That's really the long and short of it. I should probably go off now because the baby seems to be inconsolable. And I've also got to go out to the store and stuff. But I appreciate all those of you who tuned in today. I may not actually get to live stream tomorrow because if it gets even hotter, she'll probably be even fussier. I'll do my best. I'll try what I can. Thank you to the nearly 4,000 people who tuned in live. We're going to get that up to well over 10,000 come the midterm streams, and we're going to clank on some people. One more. Fax Anadu John. Yo, Sticks, have you gotten into soccer in any way, shape, or form in Holland? The Dutch are one of the top soccer nations. I hate organized sports. That's about all.